Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa. Welcome to Transfer Hub, your home of Aston Villa's transfer news, rumours, links, new signings, you name it, you'll find it here over the course of the rest of the summer. Well, if we have a summer, that is. But over the course of pre-season, that's going to be fastly approaching now. And this is where my brain starts to start looking for certain things that we're about to see from Unai Emery, tactically, formations, systems, personnel, styles of play, possession-based football, counter-attacking patterns. And it's about piecing all of those little things together and having a little bit of a map of where we think we're going to be edging towards for the start of the season. So I think in years gone by, I've always been in that mindset of, it's just pre-season, like it's just training, it's just games, and I've literally just watched games and sort of hoped we win and hope we play well. But with Unai Emery, there's so much more to pre-season than just getting match fit. There's so many different things, different elements to look out for, and I'm really, really excited for the first game, the second game, and just to see how we're developing and how we're growing, and if I can spot anything of, a different tweak in the way we're going to do things. So I'm really, really excited for pre-season, and I'm excited to see what Unai Emery does. So with that in mind, we linked with Mario Hermoso. We all thought he was possibly going to be one of the first players through the door because we were linked with him, and there was those strong rumours of Hermoso coming to Villa. His contract's up. He's a free agent. He's able to go anywhere. It felt like this was going to be one where we just drop him out of nowhere and it's a player, but it went a bit quiet. But there's been a rumour and a source on the Atletico side of things where it's a niche source, but it feels connected, if that makes sense. And it feels like this source would know and understand something. So Hermoso is now linked with Aston Villa. And what I want to do on this episode is, the more I started thinking about Hermoso, the more I started thinking about Villa's defence, the more I started thinking about where's he going to play. And it was just so interesting to have a look at it. So I've got quite a bit of a stacked episode for you today. It's not just like normal Transfer Hub where we'll go over the normal things. We're going to go a little bit in depth on Hermoso. And hopefully we're going to come to the conclusion after this episode of where your minds are at of what we actually need now going into the start of the season. So for me, the first thing that I would say about how I'm feeling ahead of going into the new season at this moment in time with our recruitment is, it's vitally important that we have a ultra competitive squad. It has to be the most competitive squad I think we've ever had. And what I mean by that is, we don't just have 11 players that get picked every single game. That's not going to work for me, because with the amount of games we've got, 38 Premier League, we've already got 8 Champions League games to start with. We've got 2 cup competitions that we're in as well. That's a lot of games. And Villa are now not in a position where we can go, we want to do well in that. We don't want to do well in that. We don't want to do well in that. We want to do well in that. We want to be trying to do well in all of them. Absolutely all of them. So that's where I'm at. Last season, I thought the squad was good. It was balanced, but it wasn't quite there. And we saw that towards the end of the season where, we had a lot of injuries. We had a lot of unfortunate injuries, but we started to run on empty fumes. And I don't think we can afford to do that next season. So when I'm saying about an ultra competitive team, it's, we've got a player that will play sort of left back. The next player underneath that left back is of the highest quality that it makes no difference to the team. And I want to have that across the whole team, because with the amount of games that we're going to have, there will be slight rotation between a Champions League away game and then maybe a game on a Sunday. I think we've got to manage and work around, and Unai's going to create this team with ultimate balance of experience as well. And there will be times for me, I think, especially in the Champions League, where we are going into ultra Unai Emery mode. And I think we were okay in the Europa Conference League, but we can all say that the Champions League is going to be a massive step up. And I think some of the signings that we're going to be signing aren't, and they don't need to be, absolute superstar status. We need, at times, tried and trusted Champions League experience, players who can fulfill a role and can implement the tactics that are at hand. So the tactics that I might talk about here is, we go back to Unai Emery's first season at Aston Villa. Remember when we used to defend in that 7 or that 6, and we were absolutely elite at defending those 1-0s. It was tight. We'd win that 1-0. We'd move on to that next game. And we built that foundation of being absolutely rock solid. And yeah, you might have to suffer. You might have to suffer for 25 minutes. But that's not a negative. We're okay doing it. And there may be times where we might have to do that. So I think with the defence, we need to be in that mindset of, we can go away from home and defend and nick a win or get a win. Maybe not nick a win. Maybe that's been a little bit harsh, but get that 1-0 win. And I think by having the correct players with the right mentality, the right ability to be able to see out those game plans is going to be vitally important, because we saw Villarreal got to the semi-final of the Champions League. And I think with Villa, with Emery can do it. Emery can find ways to win. And it's about having all of these different options and abilities on how to do it. So I think with certain personnel, might not be, oh, wow, an absolute superstar. It might be Ross Barkley. But I'm telling you now, Villa fans, Barkley will be absolutely fantastic for us next season. He will be brilliant. So those types of players are going to be vitally important. And Hermoso, for me, is one of those players that will be vitally important if he comes to Aston Villa. So I've looked into Hermoso. I've had a chat with Earl from avfc Scout, and we've had a nice little conversation about Hermoso. We basically come to the conclusion that Hermoso is very similar to Pau Torres on that left-hand side. Their attributes are very similar. Their games are very similar. And it feels to me like Longley vibes on that left-hand side. So I don't feel like it would be Hermoso on the right. I think it would be Hermoso on the left, whether it's wing back, whether it's left back, whether it's left-sided centre-half. That is where I see Hermoso playing. So when I'm talking about the squad being strong, Hermoso added to that left-hand side is where it's got me thinking of, that's the direction. There'll be people saying, while we focus on the left-hand side, we will focus on the right-hand side. That right-hand side will be addressed. But Hermoso's currently a free agent, so it's important that if we are in for him, that one gets sorted, because there's going to be many clubs and he can pick the club that he wants to go to. Apparently he's had Saudi interest, but the Premier League, the Champions League is where he wants to be. So I'm going to show you now what Scout has produced. So make sure you go and checking out Scout, and you will see the comparisons with Pau Torres and Hermoso. I thought Longley was quite good last season. I thought Longley was a good player. But obviously, Longley's wages would be quite a lot. He's on an absolute wedge at Barcelona, so that one would be really difficult. But I thought he did well. So it's important that we have depth on that left-hand side in that centre-back role as well. We'll get on to the actual overall look of Villa in a second. So we've got here Pau Torres and Hermoso compared. And as you can see, they're quite similar. So Hermoso's in the blue, Pau Torres is in the claret. So we've got touches. Hermoso had 79.9, Pau had 72.5. We've got 71.5 passes attempted from Hermoso, 65.3 from Pau, 87% passing accuracy from Pau, 85 for Hermoso. Progressive passes, we've got Hermoso at 6.03. We've got Pau at 4.68. Passing to the final third, very, very close. 5.15 for Pau, 5.76 for Hermoso. Tackles, we've got 49.2 for Hermoso, 46.7 for Pau. We've got tackles, 1.41 for Hermoso, 1.06 for Pau. Clearances, 3.15 for Hermoso, 2.74 for Pau. We've also got ball recoveries, 5.63 for Hermoso, 4.64 for Pau. Aerials won 1.41 for Hermoso. Aerials for Pau, 0.84. So very similar. Hermoso's stats are a little bit better in the tackling area, the clearance area, the ball recoveries, and the aerials. So you can make of that what you want. But for me, they are both very, very similar and would both be competing on that left-hand side, which I think would be really, really good. Now, if we take a look at Aston Villa's defensive setup at the minute on the options that we've got, and we'll try and go through these and we'll figure out potentially where players can play. If we have a look now at the tactical pad, what I've done is I've got every single defender for Aston Villa. Well, I hope I have. So what we've got on that left-hand side is we've got Maatsen, Digne, and Moreno. So that left-hand side is stacked, super stacked. And what I've done is I've put Hermoso in between left back and left-sided centre-half because Hermoso can play in that area, but he can also play in this area. So he gives us that option of being that sort of rotated player. We've got on that left-hand side as well, we've got Pau Torres and Tyrone Mings. So it's going to be interesting to see where Mings is in pre-season. They're back tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see if we see pictures of Mings, if he's with a ball at his feet with the players that are there. If not, maybe it'll be a few weeks after that. My one thing was with Mings, and this would put my mind at ease to where he is. If Mings goes on that American tour, I would be very confident that Mings will play a part next season. If Mings doesn't go on that American tour and misses that main bulk of pre-season, then I would start to worry slightly that he's not going to be ready to play a part next season. I've said it on numerous episodes already that pre-season is vitally important for every single player. If you miss pre-season, you're playing catch-up. And I can't remember who the interview was with, and I've mentioned this before as well. There's a player that said that they missed pre-season and they just felt all season that we're playing catch-up and they just couldn't get to that level. So it's vitally important that every player is at pre-season and not playing catch-up. So, yeah, we've got brilliant options here with Pau and Mings. Add Hermoso to it as well. That would be absolutely fantastic. So, hopefully, Mings, fingers crossed, is able to play pre-season. Right-hand side, we've got Carlos, who pretty much is on that right-hand side. And I've put Konsa in between, a little bit like Hermoso. We know Konsa is super comfortable playing there, but we know also that he's super comfortable playing on that as that centre half as well. Konsa 1v1 defending is absolutely fantastic. So I do expect us at times probably to see Konsa at right back next season. All the big games that we won last season, we had Konsa at right back, so I've put him there. And then we've got Cash and Kesler Hayden. For me, Kesler Hayden's going out on loan. And then it's what we do with Cash and how we recruit, I think. How I think I'd like us to recruit would be a little bit like Hermoso. So we could move Konsa back into centre half and have Konsa as centre-half and Pau there, yes, Konsa can go there, but a player that could go there, so he's comfortable playing at centre-half or he's comfortable going into that area as well, then that would probably free up Konsa to play at centre-half. So I think that's where I'm at with the defensive shape and how it's going to look. I do expect one of these two to go. Yeah, I do expect one of them to go for funds as well. So I think that's where I'm at with those, and we'll have. That's why I was saying at the start about like I'm really excited to see how pre-season goes, because I'm excited to see what we do with this defense. Does it stay the same with left back going forward? Does it mean that the left back might be going into central midfield? Does it mean that we might be doing something totally different? So that's where I think it's got really exciting. So if we have a little look now then at Hermoso's stats for last season. So if I get him for the La Liga stats then. So as we can see, he's 29 years of age, left-footed, which is good playing on that left-hand side. SOFA score rating for the season was 7.02. You can see that he was playing on that left-hand side, getting forward in that wing-back role, but also playing as a centre-half as well. He played 31 games, started 29, averaged 82 minutes per game. We've got 1 assist and we've got no goals. We've got 65% successful dribbles, 55% total duels won, ground duels 53, and aerials 59. So those numbers of 59 are they're okay, to be fair. So those are some of his stats as well. We've got 5.4 ball recoveries per game. We've got 2.6 clearances per game, 1.5 tackles per game, 1 interception per game, 8 clean sheets. You know, that can be expected for the team that he's playing at. If we've got any more decent stats that we can find on here, shot creating actions 1.47. We've got clearances 3.15. I think that's progressive passive received 2.03. If we have a little look at his transfer market value, 25 million he's sort of valued at. Got 5 appearances for Spain. He's played 185 games in La Liga, scored 10 goals, 5 assists. So, yeah, he has scored goals in the past. If we have a look at where the rumours coming from, this is where it's coming from. And that was just all talking about sort of like what this person has been told. So, Hermoso, I think it's interesting, but I think it's interesting where he'll play, what he'll do, who he'll be working with. So, Villa fans, I'd love to know your thoughts on Hermoso, your thoughts on the defence. If you've liked this episode, make sure you are smashing a like, subscribing to the channel. Up the Villa. I hope you liked it.